close here with better news. As the commissioners know, and also Joel, we got contacted by Travelers, who handles basically all of our property and casualty insurance except our workers' comp, a few weeks ago, letting us know that they wanted to cancel the policies mid-contract, which is somewhat unprecedented. It doesn't happen very often. I worked and elevated this to the point where I actually was on a phone call with the CEO of Travelers, believe it or not, which is about like getting the President of the United States on the phone. And this decision to cancel our policies 3/1, so March 1st, is going to stand. I obviously reached out to you and Joel and the Sheriff's Department in advance because we are in unequivocally the worst insurance market in the history of our country. And so placing insurance is difficult, and placing it in a short period of time is more difficult. So we didn't want to waste any time, even though there wasn't a commissioners meeting for a week or two in kind of getting started. As you know, Bobby, we had a meeting with Joel and you and I and John to give them a heads up that the crux of the cancellation surrounded a couple claims involving the sheriff and Travelers' perception as to what may be underlying in those issues. And so, not only do we need to let everybody know, we needed to begin the process of getting applications filled out for other carriers, which Josh has been fantastic helping gather that information, as have you. Obviously, you've spent a lot of time on it too. But it's super important that we try to put our best foot forward in the very best face on some of the things that have happened. And there's, less than 10 carriers in the state of Indiana that will write law enforcement liability, or a county. Probably less than 5 that would write all lines. So we are working diligently every day. I've had probably 10 phone calls with carriers, obviously meeting with you, Sheriff's Department, gathering this information, working with Joel on some other things, trying to put this together and try to make sure that we have coverage come March the 1st. So felt that it was appropriate to at least come in a public meeting and recognize what is going on so that everybody knows, and happy to answer any questions. As I will say, as it relates to the claims, because some of them are ongoing in litigation or other, like if you ask questions about anything specific, we're not going to answer those. We can't. But happy to answer any questions about the process or anything along those lines.
I have a couple. The liability part, the entire county still has the insurance with the exception of, as of March 1st, the Sheriff's Department, correct?
Well, so Travelers the renewal is July 15th. My anticipation would be that Travelers would cancel the entire policy July 15th. The state law basically says that to cancel a policy midterm, there has to be material and unforeseen change in exposure with the insured. I mean, I don't want to get into that now. I mean, Joel and I are having conversations about that and the merit of whether this really can be done. But the lines that they are claiming that they have changed, their reasoning for canceling was basically dramatic change in risk management procedures with the Sheriff's Department. So, I mean, even though I think they're on thin ice anyway, they're definitely not going to move on the lines like the property and equipment that are not really under the purview of that claim. So we're talking law enforcement liability, auto, and umbrella for the whole county.
So, I mean, it's all together. It's
Auto
all,
for the whole county?
yes.
Okay, I
So-
misunderstood that.
I mean, the reason that I don't think it really matters is because that line is not going to be hard to place. I mean, and we're probably going to find a carrier. My hope is to do all of this together, and we'll move it all anyway. So, I mean, that's the plan. I mean, the worst case scenario, I guess, would be that we find a standalone law enforcement liability market, and then we go find somebody else to do a standalone auto policy. That won't be a problem to do that. That's not the ideal scenario, and I think we have a better chance to get someone to look at this as a whole. I think we have a good case put together, and I've had good conversations with some carriers. As you know, we have a meeting Monday with a carrier that's coming to visit. We have another carrier. So, I mean, when you get to the point where they're willing to come out and visit, they're at least serious enough that they want to take a look at these things. But we certainly need to have everyone on board, making Henry County look like a risk that an insurance company wants to take on.
So you're anticipating that July 15th, no matter what, Travelers probably will not renew?
Yeah, my hope
Is
is
that your anticipation?
my hope is we'll move the whole thing
We'll move
3-1
the
to somebody
whole thing,
else, and
okay.
we'll just cancel the Travelers altogether. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think this is going to do to our deductible range?
Well, I would say that the law enforcement deductible was likely to go up some in July. I would say in the short run that we will probably be looking at somewhat high. I mean, it would not surprise me if we have a $25,000 deductible right now in law. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't land at 100. I mean, but I don't definitively know that. I can just tell you that when we were with One Beacon, and One Beacon decided to pull out of law enforcement altogether as a company, we entertained the idea as an option of writing the law enforcement separate on its own and keeping everything with One Beacon. We also obviously at the time went to Travelers and Liberty and all the other companies. The best at that time, 2 or 3 years ago, and I would say the law enforcement market has probably deteriorated since then. The lowest deductible even in the market on a standalone law was 100. So I'm just, as a frame of reference, like I would be very surprised if we get a $25,000 law deductible. What I would say, and I think what I've already heard from carriers, is if we can get through this little storm and we have good experience for the next year or two, it's definitely not out of the question that we can't improve terms on the policy. And I hope we are fine 3-1. I mean, a couple of the carriers don't seem totally spooked by, what they are seeing on the loss runs. But there's still quite a ways to go with visits and other things. I mean, I will tell you that if this was 3 years ago, I would probably retire, because if we had the old jail, we would probably have zero chance of placing this. So, I mean, that is a huge item that we don't have to overcome, is that right off the bat, like new jail is, okay, let's check that box. We're past that kind of first hurdle. So we have some good things going for us. We just got to work through some of the challenges.
All the items that are under litigation now will still stay with Travelers, right?
That's correct. And I mean, so the different, some of the lines of insurance we had are what's called occurrence forms, and the policy that's going to respond to that claim when it comes is the policy that was in force at the time of the occurrence, regardless of when it was brought. So like on the general liability, law enforcement liability, something that happens today and the suit doesn't come for a year is still going to go back to Travelers. But like the public officials is what's called a claims made policy. And that is the policy that is in force at the time the claim is made, is the one that responds. So it depends on what happens. Like Travelers in theory could a year from now be on the hook for claims that come in as long as the occurrence happened prior to 3/1. So depending on what happens, we could get claims later in the year where some are Travelers, some are whoever the new carrier is.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Josh.
Josh, thank you.
Yeah, if you guys have other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll continue to work with
Yep.
you and your team and hopefully get this out to market this week. So,
I should have all of my stuff completed by end of day today.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Say it again. I don't think this is the opportunity. I think what we've got right now is we're going to have to wait. I think. Do you?
Joel,
Yeah, I would advise not to address any specific claims. That'd be my advice. Yeah, if you want to make some general comments, I think that's probably okay, but just try to avoid addressing any specific claim or threatened claim.
Yeah, no, I don't want to address any specific claims. I do want to talk about the liability has been something that I have talked about from the very first. Liability is a great concern of mine, and we have taken very serious steps to limit our liabilities. Starting with January the 1st of 2023, we eliminated special deputy powers to well over 60.
John, could you move the mic? They're saying they can't hear you.
Yep, sorry.
Please. And make sure it's turned on, that is green.
It's green. Yes, it's green. January 1st, 2023, we eliminated special deputy powers to over 50 individuals that had full police powers, full arrest powers 24/7 under the umbrella of the Henry County Sheriff's Office. They were simply, most of these people were utilizing these powers to work security jobs for their income. And that is a massive amount of liability that we eliminated right off the bat. That was not an easy, thing to do. We took a lot of heat over that. And we are getting ready to eliminate some more special deputy powers. I have a letter written that will be delivered today to the security officers at Henry County Hospital. I have no idea why that we give them full police powers when we have no control over their training or anything. And we're going to eliminate that. We've also greatly reduced the number of reserve officers. And so when you look at all of these, we've eliminated almost 100, you could say, officers that are, if they're to get into some kind of an issue, that's coming back on the county. So that's a huge reduction in the liability. I have talked much about vehicle liability, and we all know where that has gone. We have fully staffed the jail. The jail had ran about 7 to 8 full-time employees short, and why, I don't know. We fully staffed in January. We've been fully staffed since then. So that greatly reduces our liability, having 8 more full-time officers there. I just, I want people to understand that tort notices can be filed all day long, and I'm not going to speak to any specific ones, but this could be a blessing in disguise, because one thing that I found right off the bat with travelers is they just want to write a check and settle. And that, in my opinion, and I've talked to the Sheriff's Association about it, we feel very strongly in this matter that that type of stuff, it increases the desire for people to file frivolous lawsuits. The first suit that I was named in, we wanted to settle. Oh, let's just settle. We hadn't even talked about it.
John?
Yeah.
I
Get into a specific.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I can appreciate where you're coming from, and I've had this conversation, parts of it with you, but what I understand with Josh's involvement and Joel's involvement, I don't want to cut you short, but I don't know that that we as a panel of 3 commissioners can do anything about it right now. But I appreciate your concern, and I understand that. I just know we have to allow some things to take
No, I
place.
get it. I'm
And
fine,
so-
I'm fine on that. I wanted to say a couple other items that we are doing. We have paid a lot of money out of our own fund to hire a company called Lexipol to update our standard operating procedures, which some of them were operating on from late 80s and early 90s. So that's a big step in limiting liability. We've also increased our training hour requirements for all corrections office staff from the minimum of 80 hours, which it has been, to we require 110 hours now of training. So there are many things, and I'll leave it at this. There are many things that we are working diligently on to reduce liability. I am very cognizant of liability, and I just want you all to know that we are working in many, and I've got a list. I've got 50 items here. I won't take any more of your time, but I just want you all to know that we are working hard to reduce the liability for the county.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I just have a comment, and I appreciate what you're doing and to reduce that liability. But right now, from what I'm understanding from our carrier, is the special deputies weren't the problems. The cars really weren't as big an issue. The training, the staffing, and all the other stuff, my understanding is it's the tort claim stuff involving you directly. So the other stuff right now doesn't affect or hadn't affected the sheriff's department. It's basically solely on the actions or the responses to things that, from you. So I guess I hope this helps. And I guess some of the things when you settle stuff, it's because it's cheaper than what it costs you in the long run. And this is county taxpayer money is what we're dealing with. So I guess I hope this works out, and you and Josh and Joel we can work something out and get a carrier that'll take care of us, because now the whole county's at risk of losing our insurance.
Right, because of my actions, because of tort claims that have been filed. And you could file a tort claim if you wanted to. I mean, so I want everybody to understand that these are claims that have been put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they will have their due process. And it's amazing that you can be targeted.
It's the society we live in anymore.
It is, yes.
So.
Thank you, Sheriff.